believe it my duty to remind you of that very ill and bitter cold wind which continually blows in from the northward, specifically from the colony of Massachusetts Bay. It is now well more than a year which has passed since the destruction of a great quantity of East India tea in Boston Harbor, in a most noble effort to protest an unconstitutional tax applied upon that particular commodity. And all these many weeks since, we have been observing the response of the British government in the form of a series of most coercive and intolerable acts of Parliament, which are depriving innocent and honest Americans of their God-given rights and liberties. For example, presently in Massachusetts Bay is a military government. Free elections, a thing of the past. Indeed, the Royal Charter of Massachusetts has been revoked altogether. Some 5,000 British regulars have marched into Boston City alone, which means, therefore, that presently 1 out of every 5 souls in the town of Boston is an armed British mercenary, lurking at every street corner and crossroads. A number of those troops being quartered within the homes of the citizenry, and some committing vicious crimes upon innocent civilians as they do so. Sloops of war fitted out with chains have been dispatched from England to arrest those sons of liberty who may or may not have dispatched that tea, to take them back to England, where they will no doubt be hanged by their necks like dogs for treason, with no evidence being brought against those British officers in the town of Boston who were also being charged with felony offenses. Trial by jury, gone. All civil rights and liberties which we have long enjoyed, free speech, the right of free assembly, free elections, the right to petition government for redress of grievances, all of those have been revoked from every man, woman, and child in the entire colony of Massachusetts. And furthermore, make no mistake upon it, the threats are being daily made in the halls of the British government that the rest of us throughout America can expect much the same rough treatment. Most offensive and obnoxious, however, of these intolerable acts, the Boston Port Bill, wherein it was determined that a fleet of British warships would sail into Boston's harbor and seal it off to all traffic and commerce, allowing nothing in and nothing out. We hear that there are some 20,000 of inhabitants in the metropolis of Boston. We hear further that everyone's livelihoods depend directly upon the port. It therefore should not require the penetration of an Isaac Newton to discover that after all this time, there is terrible suffering in that place, misery, starvation, and this too being meted out upon all those many innocents within that place, women and children who had nothing to do whatever with the destruction of East India tea, for which now an entire population is being so harshly punished. Now here in this city, upon learning of the impending closure of Boston's harbor, resolved for a day of fasting and prayer, that we might show our support and our sympathy for those much distressed souls in the town of Boston. As mentioned previously, as a result of that resolve, that virtuous act of piety, love, and affection, Lord Dunmore dissolved the House of Burgesses. We have not met since.